A very good morning to everybody. Today we are going to start a new chapter of history, chapter 12, India after independence. In this chapter, we are going to cover the following contents: a new undivided nation, a constitution and its features, formation of states, planning for development, planning commission, foreign policy, and successes and failures. Let's start our new chapter, that is India after independence. Whatever we come to know about India after independence is also a part of history. The main sources of this period are the documents of the government, writings of leaders, social workers, journalists, and reports of several newspapers. These sources are abundant and easily available. Post independence, millions of peoples migrated to India from Pakistan. This migration was a saga of chaos, violence, and anarchy. The communal violence at the time of independence forced millions of people to cross over either India or Pakistan. The Indian government was faced with the immediate task of giving shelter to those who came to India. Most of them were temporarily settled in refugee camps until colonies were built to house them. These are some of the pictures related to that event. Though most of the princely states within British India has signed the instrument of accession and joined the Dominion of India by 15th August 1947, the political state of Hyderabad, Junagadh, and Kashmir still remain undecided. There were also small territories in India that still remained under French or Portuguese colonial rule. The Indian government also had to adopt policies to meet the enormous challenges before the newborn country. At that time, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was the Home Minister of India. He, with his diplomacy and tact, persuaded most of the princely states to join India. Only three princely states, Junagadh, Hyderabad, and Kashmir, hesitated to join India. Later, however, they agreed to join India. Now let's have a look about the making of Indian Constitution. Between December 1946 and November 1949, around 300 Indians had many meetings on the political future of the country. On 26th January 1950, the Constitution of Independent India came into force and India became a democratic republic. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected the first president and Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan the first vice president of India. The first elections to the legislature were held in 1952. The Congress won a majority at the centre, and Jawaharlal Nehru was elected India's first Prime Minister. Now let's have a look on the features of our Constitution. Let's start with the first one. One of the most remarkable features of Indian democracy is that from the very beginning, the Constitution of India gave the citizens of the country universal adult franchise. All Indians above 18 years of age would be allowed to cast their vote in state and national elections. In many other democratic countries, including UK and the USA, some sections of the population, such as the poor and the women, got voting rights after long periods of struggle. The second feature was secularism. India is a country of many religions. India's constitution has accepted secularism as one of its basic principles. India does not have any religion. All religion group, including Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, have the same fundamental rights. One of these rights is the right to freedom of religion. The third feature of the Constitution guaranteed equality before the law to all citizens, irrespective of their caste, religion, or gender. All Indian citizens have equal rights and have to obey the same laws. The government gives equal opportunities in education, employment, the use of public places, and so on to all citizens regardless of their caste, religion, wealth, or gender. You have read earlier about the age old social discrimination against the untouchables. An important feature of the Constitution was that it provided special privileges for the deprived and most disadvantaged Indians. The practice of untouchability was abolished. The Constituent Assembly also made some provisions according to which a certain percentage of seats in legislatures as well as in government jobs were reserved for members of the local castes. The Adivasis or scheduled tribes, all along with the untouchables, were also granted reservation in seats and jobs. After many days of discussion, the Constituent Assembly divided powers between the central government and the state governments. Let's have a look at how these powers were divided. India is a union of states. In India, we have government at two levels, the center and the states. India's constitution specifies the subjects on which laws can be made by the center and the states. The subjects are placed in three lists: the union list, to be dealt with by the states, and the concurrence list, to be dealt with by the center and the states. In this slide, you can see how the powers of the government was divided between three organs: legislative, executive, and judiciary. Subjects like railways, defense, and foreign affairs came under union list. Subjects like education and health came under state list. And the concurrence list include education and health where the center and the state both would have joint responsibility. So this is the end of our first part. Everybody give a reading till page 164 of your NCERT book, and in our next class we'll start with the topic official language and how were states to be formed. Take care of yourself. God bless you all.